Okay, today is a calculator exploration day. If you're watching this video, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge because you don't have a calculator in front of you to be able to do this. But understanding what the calculator can do and how it relates to our geometry topics can still be really helpful. To get started, we need to make sure that we click on option 1. We're creating a brand new document. So option 1, new document. Then it asks what type of document we want to create. We are going to create a geometry document. So this is a geometry page within our document. It's blank, but that's because it's a blank screen so that we can add a whole bunch of things and do a whole bunch of things. We're going to continue to add pages throughout this document and then save it. So to get started, I want you guys to just watch. You're not going to do anything right now. You're just going to watch. And then I'll repeat the directions, allowing you to do it with me. So right now, hands are off the calculator, eyes are on the screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a figure. Eventually, with that figure, we're going to do reflections, rotations, and translations, all using this technology, and it's going to work similar to the applets that you may have seen in Canvas. So, menu, we're going to go to shapes, and there's lots of different shapes that we could create, but since I want to do things like rotations and reflections, I want it to be a shape that you can actually see when those kinds of things are happening. So I'm going to add a polygon. Now, when you add a polygon, anytime you're in any sort of those tools, you're going to see some information up here. When I hover, it says we're creating a polygon. To create the polygon, you click each corner location, or you can press coordinates. We don't have a grid, so no coordinates here. And then you're going to click on the first corner to finish. Let me show you what that actually looks like. So here's a point, here's a point, here's a point, here's a point. And I can keep on clicking points, and it's going to keep on creating things until I finally decide that I'm done with the shape. And I'm going to click back to the beginning to say end the shape. Okay, you're going to notice that as I went through that, it labeled every single point. Okay, now you're going to do that with me, but I want to make sure that you guys have this setting, so everyone do this with me first. Let me Control Z to get rid of that figure. Everyone, please go to menu. Go down to option 9, settings. And if you scroll down to the bottom in that settings menu, you're going to see automatically label points. Go ahead and check that. It's going to be helpful if that's checked. It's not a big deal one way or the other, but labeling the points automatically really helps us talk about these figures. So click OK. And now with me, we've got our calculators in hand, and we're going to do this together. Menu, option 5, shapes. And we're going to add a polygon. So option 4 is polygon. As you are creating your polygon, I don't want it to be super duper symmetric. I want it to have like a distinct shape so that when it's rotated, we can kind of see that rotation, or when it's reflected, we can see that. Make sure that whatever shape you are adding is still school appropriate. When you're done, even though I've ended the figure, it still is showing that we're in Polygon Creation mode. To get out of that, I'm going to hit escape so that it no longer wants to try and make polygons. Okay, some things, as students were working on this, some things that might be worth pointing out in the recording. If you don't like where your figure is or what it looks like, you can adjust the points. So to do that, I'm hovering over point F. You can see the hand. When I press and hold, it grips. That hand closes and it grips it, and then I can move that point. You can also do the same thing by moving the whole entire figure. So again, if I hover over the whole figure, not over any specific point, but over the figure, press and hold, that hand grabs down, and again I can move that figure. Right now I want my figure to be on the left-hand side of the screen, and it should take up less than half of the screen so that we can do the next things with it. All right, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do a translation. Again, right now we're just watching, so hands off the calculator, set your calculator down, that way you can watch, and then I'll do it a second time where we can do it together. So what I'm doing now, since we're doing a translation, we need a vector. You might remember from a previous lesson that a vector has direction and magnitude. It's going to show us how far we're going to be translating it and what direction it's going to be moving. So to do that, I have to go to Menu, Points and Lines, Vector. So I have to define that vector first. And the vector You just click and then click the secondary spot, and you can see that it creates an arrow. That arrow has a starting point and it has an ending point. You can see the arrow has a specific direction. So now that I've created this, I can then continue on with the translation, and I'm going to be able to move this figure by this amount. I'm going to let you guys create your vector first. Okay, so let's do that again. Let me just Control Z. So all together now, we're going to go Menu. Option 4 is Points and Lines. And Option 8 is Vector. You can do your vector any direction. It doesn't make sense to have the arrow going from right to left because then that image is going to move off of the screen. So I'm going to go again from left, making sure that when I click towards the right, that's the direction the arrow is going to go. That way this figure, when it moves that amount, I will still be able to see it on the screen. Notice once again, I'm still in vector mode. It still wants me to create vectors. So we hit Escape to get out of that menu. And then we're ready for the next step. Okay, next step. Now we're actually going to do this transformation. So Menu. Oh, pause, hold on. I don't want you guys to be doing this with me. Calculators down. Watching first. And then we can do it together. Okay, watching first. So I'm going to go Menu. Option 8 down here is transformation. That's what this whole unit has been about. So we're going to be doing transformations. You can see symmetry. That's one that we aren't familiar with, but we have reflection, translation, rotation, and dilation. Dilation is next unit. These are the ones that we know about right now. I'm going to click on translation. When I click on translation again, you can see we're in the translation tool right now. It says to do the translation, you first have to click the object. This is the object that I want to translate. Again, I'm not clicking the point, it's the whole entire polygon. So I'm going to click on that. Let's keep reading. Click the object, then click the translation vector. So I'm going to click on the object, then I'm going to click on the vector, and it's going to translate that for me. Let me show you what that looks like. Here I'm clicking on, again, the whole polygon, not just a point, and clicking on that vector, and you can see as soon as I click, it places that point, or that whole entire polygon. Okay, I'm going to Control Z. We're going to do that together now. Okay, so pick up your calculators all together. Again, that's Menu. Option 8 is transformation. Option 3 is translation. That's what we're doing right now. We're doing a translation. Click on that. If you ever get lost and you're like, I don't know how to use this tool, just hover. In that corner, it will tell you. So we're clicking on the object and then the vector. Again, make sure you click on the polygon and not a single point. Then you click on your vector and it will translate it for you. It still thinks we're in that translation mode, so I'm going to hit Escape so that I'm done trying to do that. Now that this has been translated, you can also adjust the vector. So when I change that vector, you can see that it automatically changes that translation as well. Make it on your screen so that you can see two distinct figures. And then I'm going to take a screenshot of everybody's screen. Something that was pointed out by a student here in class, when we translated this polygon, because we have automatically labeling points, you can see that A was translated to A prime, B was translated to B prime, etc. Okay, this is our translation page. We're going to do other transformations, but I want a fresh new page for each one. So hands off the calculators, eyes on the screen first so that you can see. What we're going to do is in this same document, we are going to add a new page. So if you take a look above doc in yellow on your calculator, blue on mine, it says plus page. We're going to add a page. Remember, when I need to access those little features, we click Control. So Control, doc. And again, it's asking what type of page. That would be option 3, a geometry page. So now we can do this one together. Control and doc is going to add a page. What type of page? A geometry page. And it's going to be blank, just like it was before. And the first step is the same as last time. We are going to add a polygon. Again, make it interesting so that as we reflect this time, as we do a reflection, you'll be able to see how it changes and what it looks like. Okay, so menu, option 5 for shapes, option 4 for polygon. Make it an interesting one. And just like last time, make sure it's not too large. Make sure it fits on your screen. Should take up less than half of the screen. Okay, now that we've got our polygon, we need to do a reflection. What is the one thing that we need in order to do a reflection? Obviously, we need the polygon that we can reflect. We have that. What else do we need? Like if you were describing a reflection, what would you need to describe? Siley. A line. Yeah, we need a line to reflect it over. So I'm going to insert a line. Again, you're watching first, and then I'll let you do. So I'm going to go to Menu, Points and Line, and I'm just going to do a line. When you do a line, and again, if you ever need clarification, it says just click 2 points, and that will create the line. So here's a point, and there's the line. Hit Escape so that we're no longer in that menu. If you don't like where the line is, we can always change that. You can move the line, you can move the point to move the line, so you can do all of those things. Let me Control Z, and we're going to do this together now. Together, Menu, Option 4, Points and Lines, Option 4, Line. Click any 2 points. Remembering this is where we're going to be, or this is the line of reflection. So make sure that your line that you're inserting kind of makes sense, knowing where that reflection is going to end up being. Once you've created your line, again, hit Escape so that you're no longer in the line creation tool. And then I'll give the next set of directions. Are you ready? Okay, again, hands off the calculator. We're watching first, and then we'll do together. Menu. Remember, we're still doing transformations, so option 8. This time the transformation we're doing is a reflection. So option 8 and then option 2. When I read this menu, it says first click the line of reflection and then click the object to reflect. So we're going to click that reflection line first, or our mirror line, then we'll go back and click the polygon. So here's the line I'm going to reflect it over. What is it that I want to reflect? Again, make sure you're not clicking just a point. Make sure you're clicking on the whole entire polygon. Okay, Control Z, I'm going to do this with you now. So all together, Menu, Option 8, Transformation, Option 2, Reflection. First, click on your line. Then you're going to click on the polygon and you will see the reflected image. It still is in reflection menu, so hit Escape so it's no longer in that menu. And again, there's some really cool things that we can do with this now. Notice, you cannot move this figure. If you try and move this figure the way that we've moved other figures, it won't allow us to do that, because this figure is based on this figure. If you move this figure closer to the line of reflection, you can see that the reflection also gets closer to the line of reflection. If you move your line of reflection, you can see how that affects the reflected image. Okay. And again, if you decide that you want to change the shape of your image, you can see that it affects the reflection in the pre-image as well. Go ahead and play around with that. Okay, we're going to move on. We're going to do this one more time. We've done translation, we've done reflection. We're going to do the hardest one of all, rotation. And because rotation takes a little bit of extra time, as I Control Dock to add a new page, add a geometry page, we're going to add another polygon. Please make it a fairly simple polygon. Okay, I've seen some really crazy, really intricate ones. Let's go pretty simple here. Menu, do this with me because you've done this before. Shapes, polygon, no more than 6 points here. Hit Escape so we're no longer in Polygon Creation tool. All right, now that we've got our polygon, everybody's ready. When I do a rotation, there are certain pieces of information that I need in order to perform a rotation. What are those things that I need? If you're describing a rotation, what do you need? Seth? Yeah, try that one more time over the bell. I couldn't hear you. Yes, exactly right. We need the point of rotation or the center of rotation, and we need the direction and the angle of rotation. Let's focus on the point. We can rotate around any of these points, but that's not very interesting. Let's create a point. So you guys can do this with me. I trust you now. You guys have been following directions really well. Menu, points and lines. We're just going to do a point. Option 1, point. Here's the point that I'm going to do my rotation around. And then I hit escape because, again, it still thinks I'm in point mode. I would prefer it for now. We can always change it later, right? But try and put it somewhere in the middle for now so that we can see everything we need to see. Now, as 8th graders, we've focused on stating the degree and the direction, meaning 90-degree clockwise or 90-degree counterclockwise. But the truth is, mathematically speaking, angles are typically measured counterclockwise. So on this, whenever we put in the degree of rotation, it's going to assume that it is counterclockwise. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And here's what we're going to do now. Now that we've got our point, let's go menu. All together now. I trust you guys. We're going to do this all together. You think we probably can figure out where we're going to go, right? Option 8, transformation. And this time we're going to do rotation. Once you're in this menu, will you hands off the calculator? Okay, once you're here. Because rotations can be a little bit finicky. Let's read the menu. Let's read the directions. First, click the object, then the rotation point, or that center of rotation, then the rotation angle. Or, alternatively, you can enter the value. So we could just say 90 degrees if we want to. We're going to try it 2 different ways, okay? So, first click the object, then the rotation point. Eyes just watching. We're not doing yet. Here's the polygon. So I'm clicking on the polygon. Here's the point, clicking on the point, and some interesting things are happening right now, okay? At this point, I could just type in 90, and it's going to rotate at 90 degrees. However, I could also put in a point. And when I do that, it creates an angle. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, there we go. That was weird. But now you can see what's happening. It formed an angle. So now I can see what it's like as I change that angle and rotate it around. Okay, let's do that together now. You guys are already in that rotation menu, right? So you've already done menu 8 rotation. First, click on your polygon. Then click on your center of rotation. You can type in an angle here, but it's more interesting if you form an angle. So look what I'm doing to form the angle. I click on a point, click on the center point that I'm using as the center of rotation, and then a final point. Ooh, yeah, something weird happened there. See what you can make work. Rotations are kind of weird. I'm hitting escape to get out of that menu so that I can then move those points and see what it's like as it rotates. And again, here's the interesting things. Notice what happens as I move my original figure closer to that center of rotation. Notice what happens as I move it further away. You can continue to spin it and see what it's like. Okay. All right, and that is it for today's lesson. Really cool things that you can do in your calculator, and you are able to use this calculator on all of your tests, so take advantage of that. That's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.